In the quiet town of Eden Ridge, where church bells marked the rhythm of life and everyone seemed to know everyone else, the community was bound together by faith. And at the center of it all stood Pastor Daniel Cole, a man respected for his passionate sermons, his open-door counseling sessions, and his reputation as a shepherd of souls. But in the spring of 2021, whispers of fear replaced the hymns of hope. Members of Pastor Daniel's congregation began to disappear. First, it was Angela Brooks, a choir singer who vanished on her way home from evening service. Then came James Miller, a father of two, who never returned after attending night vigil prayers. Within 3 months, 4 more church members, all tied closely to the pastor's ministry, had gone missing. The town was shaken. Families were terrified to leave their homes after dark. And though police initially suggested kidnappers or random acts of violence, the pattern was too disturbing to ignore. Every missing person was linked to Pastor Daniel's church. At first, the idea that Pastor Daniel could be involved felt unthinkable. He had officiated weddings, counseled couples, and led food drives for the poor. But investigators knew they couldn't dismiss the coincidence. They began quietly watching him. They reviewed his phone records, financial documents, and travel history. And soon, cracks began to appear in the carefully built image of a holy man. The financial ruin. Despite his outward success, Daniel was drowning in debt. The church's donations had fallen drastically, and he had taken secret loans from private lenders. Double life. Investigators discovered that Pastor Daniel was maintaining a hidden apartment in a nearby city, where he met with a woman who was not his wife. A manipulation. Several church members reported that Daniel had privately promised them special prayers that could change their lives, often inviting them to meet him alone late at night. Still, none of this explained the disappearances. Until one shocking discovery. Detectives executed a search warrant on the church grounds. In a storage basement beneath the sanctuary, they found personal belongings of the missing members. Clothes, purses, wallets, even a set of car keys. Hidden behind a locked cabinet were notebooks filled with Daniel's handwriting. Lists of names, dates, and cryptic notes like sacrifice of faith and debt paid in blood. But the most disturbing piece of evidence was forensic. Blood traces on the church's basement floor. For weeks, Pastor Daniel denied everything, insisting he was being framed. He quoted scripture in his defense, painting himself as a martyr under persecution. Then one of his closest aides, Samuel Ease, a young assistant who had worked at the church for years, broke down under interrogation. Samuel confessed that the pastor had been luring vulnerable members of the congregation into private deliverance sessions. The victims, already struggling with poverty or illness, believed Daniel's prayers would change their fate. Instead, Samuel revealed they never returned home. When pressed about why, he explained the shocking truth. Pastor Daniel believed that ritual sacrifices would bring him both financial prosperity and renewed power over his dwindling flock. When the story broke, Eden Ridge was torn apart. Some members of the church wept openly, refusing to believe their beloved pastor could be guilty. Others raged with grief and anger, demanding justice for the families of the missing. The church that had once been a sanctuary of peace was now sealed off with yellow police tape, its stained glass windows casting eerie light on an empty pulpit. Candles and flowers appeared at its gates, memorials to the victims, symbols of the town's broken trust. Pastor Daniel was charged with multiple counts of murder, fraud, and conspiracy. The courtroom was packed during his trial. Families of the victims sat shoulder to shoulder with loyalists who still believed in his innocence. In the end, the evidence was undeniable. The jury convicted him and he was sentenced to life in prison. His calm demeanor never wavered, even as the verdict was read. For Eden Ridge, however, the scars remain. The town still struggles with the betrayal of having been led astray by the very man who was meant to protect them. This case was more than a crime. It was a betrayal of trust at the deepest level. It showed how power, when unchecked, can be twisted into manipulation and how faith, when blindly given, can be exploited for evil. As one grieving mother said, "We trusted him with our souls. But he was feeding on our faith while hiding a monster inside."